What is up, everybody? This is JP, your online personal trainer, and today I'm coming at you with two exercises I feel like are undervalued or underrated. They just don't get enough credit that they deserve, or I rarely see them being done, and I'm going to give you some reasons why I feel like you should do them. And since it's Halloween and you're probably going to be taking in a bunch of extra candy or food, it's probably a good time to include some of these exercises so you could burn off a few of those extra calories. These exercises are the push press and the glute bridge. I'm going to explain the exercises first, and then I'm going to go over why they are good. Again, I don't have anyone to control the camera, so I'm going to explain them the best I can. You can easily look these up on Google or on YouTube. You'll get a video demonstration of these exercises, but I'm still going to explain them. What a push press is just an overhead press. An overhead press is just you take a barbell or dumbbells and you press it overhead. A push press is you go into a quarter squat and then you use your legs to assist on the movement. So instead of just going directly up, you go into a quarter squat and then you use your legs to assist with the movement going all the way up. Typically, because you're using your legs too, you would use heavier weight, but you don't have to do that. You could just include your legs for the exercise just for the sake of it to recruit more muscle. So basically, it's like an assisted push press. It's a quarter squat with an overhead press combined in one exercise. A glute bridge is where you lie on your back, flat on your back. You can lay down completely flat on the ground on your back. You bring your feet close to your butt, and then from there, you're kind of in like a crunch position. From there, you drive your feet into the ground and you extend your hips. You basically do a hip thrust. You might have heard glute bridges being called hip thrusts before. So basically, that's just what that is. You can look them up yourself. That's the best description. Again, I don't have anyone to control the camera, so I really can't do that right now. But starting with the push press, why I feel like it's underrated. One, because I hardly ever see either of these exercises done. But two, there's plenty of reasons why it's good. The first one is that it's a great power exercise. For example, most of the time with a push press, you don't have to, but you definitely can at some point, and you should put more weight than you can do with a normal overhead press. You're using your legs to assist you during the push press, so you can use more weight than you can with the overhead press, a regular strict one. So the fact that you have to generate some type of quick reaction force with your legs, it's basically a great power exercise. If you tried to do a push press slow, extremely slow, with the weight that is more than the overhead press, you're not going to be able to get that weight up. So if you went down into a quarter squat, then slowly went up from the squat, and then stopped, and then went up, you're not going to be able to get the weight up. It has to be a very powerful exercise. So you come down, it's almost like you're trying to jump, and then you like jump up almost is what you're doing. It's applied a lot into Olympic lifts. So a lot of people who are weight training for the Olympics or just like doing Olympic style lifting always include push presses in their exercise. I just feel like, again, because it's such a good powerful an exercise to generate power, that's one reason why I feel like it should be included in our workout program. And again, because of this power that you have to generate, it's a very athletic movement. If you were an athlete, someone that's in wrestling, someone that's in football, someone that's in basketball, I feel like if you're doing a general weight training program, push press should be definitely a staple inside the gym for you. So again, those two exercises those two reasons kind of go hand in hand. But again, it's a very powerful exercise, and which helps with athletics. So if you are an athlete, I would definitely take a look at that exercise. The next reason, there's many muscle groups that you're using during this exercise. It's a really heavy demand on your core. You're using your shoulders. You're using basically your legs. And again, if you're doing it to basically full triple extension, you're going to be using a little bit of caps too. It's a very demanding exercise. So again, you're using many muscle groups, recruiting a ton of muscle fibers, which again makes it good for, I'll talk about that in a little bit, but it makes it good for a lot of reasons. The next reason why this is good is for the shoulder overload. Because you are having to use your legs to assist, if you're using heavy weight and not lighter weight, which again, you could go either way with this exercise, which is why it's great. But if you're wanting to do heavier, which most people do, if you slow down the eccentric or try to slow down the eccentric for your shoulders, this could be great for shoulder overload, because again, a lot of people ignore the eccentric, and that's where a lot of the muscle damage is done to your muscle fibers, which again forces you in turn to eat and to sleep, which helps you gain more muscle. So if you want to focus on the eccentric, what I would do is, again, focus exploding up, then on the way down, try to slow the descent of the weight. And because it's more weight that you're used to during a strict concentric portion of the movement, it's going to be really tasking. So again, if you're not advanced with this movement or you've never done it before, I would be careful with trying to slow down the eccentric too much, but after you have some practice, it's great for that. And the last reason why I like the push press, and it goes back with a couple of these reasons tied in, is it's great for strength, hypertrophy, and cardio. If you include this, and you're thinking, wow, cardio, this exercise is good for cardio. If you include this with maybe some battle ropes, with some sprints and some farm risk carries, you're gonna have a good high intensity circuit that you can do to burn a ton of calories and increase your excess post oxygen consumption, which is gonna overall increase your metabolism. So yeah, you could definitely put this into some type of circuit if you do a little bit lighter weights. I wouldn't do heavy weight for cardio. Just do something that you pick a weight that you could strict overhead press without using your legs, but you're still going to use your legs anyways. Maybe to get some extra reps, to do more reps in general. It's just going to be more for total body movement. That's good to put in for a circuit. But it's also great for hypertrophy and strength. If you focus on the eccentric, like I was talking about for the shoulder overload, it's great for hypertrophy. And strength, obviously, it lets you go really heavy because you're getting assistance from multiple muscle groups. Anytime that happens, it's probably going to be a great exercise. So again, I definitely recommend putting that exercise in your workout routine if you haven't already. The next exercise is the glute bridge. The reason why I like this, and this is probably the primary reason, I have two other reasons, but the main reason is it's great for teaching glute and hamstring contraction. Most lifters, even if you could lift a lot of weight, you'll know if this isn't you, but most people do not know how to really fully contract their glutes and their hamstrings. They don't. When they do a squat, or even it's two things happen. If they do a squat, they usually just push it down. That's all they do. They don't really think about extending the hips fully is what they do. So again, that can lead to back pain, bad form, just injuries all around in general, and then lack of performance on big lifts. You don't lift the weight that you want to because, again, you don't really know how to contract your glutes and your hamstrings, which are the prime movers for hip extension, which is basically almost all the squat. There's knee extension too. And it's almost basically all the deadlift. So if you don't really know how to do that, you're going to cause yourself a lot of problems, and most of that is going to be back pain. So if you have a lot of back pain, that's probably why you don't know how to contract your glutes and hamstrings. If you learn how to do a glute bridge, like I said, because your feet are on the ground and you're on the ground and you're not standing up, you're going to be able to slow the movement down and be able to really focus on glute and hamstring contraction, because all a glute bridge is just hip extension. That's all you're doing is extending your hips during this. So yeah, for a lot of people don't know how to fully contract and squeeze their hamstrings, which again, it causes all those problems. So I would definitely put it in your workout routine. Maybe start with body weight or just a light dumbbell. You can even work your way up to a barbell, put on some plates if you want. I would definitely start lighter first, but even if you are doing deadlifts and you're doing other things, I would still include these in. And that goes to my second reason why I like this exercise, is because if you maybe have hit a plateau on your deadlift, or maybe, like I said, you're having back pain on your deadlift, or you're not, let's just say you're not having back pain, but or you're not hitting a plateau, but you're not making the progress that you want, or you just really don't know how to contract at all. It could be any reason, including glute bridges with your deadlifts, maybe after your deadlifts, as a supplemental exercise. And it's even hard to call these in a supplemental exercise because it's a great exercise. The only reason I would say supplemental is because I don't think glute bridges should ever replace deadlifts. Obviously, they should not, but they're definitely a good exercise, again, to teach hip extension. So I would put these after your deadlifts, maybe, just to teach you. Maybe you have one day where you have a deadlift day and one day you have a glute bridge day. It just depends on how you want to split it. But again, if you're stuck on a plateau, you just can't get your deadlift better, maybe focusing on glute bridges, because you can go pretty heavy with these too. You can't go too heavy with them, but you could still go pretty heavy depending on where you're at with your deadlift. If you're deadlifting 400, 500, 600 pounds, glute bridges definitely aren't going to be a strength exercise for you. They're going to be more for hypertrophy and technique. But anything in the 300 pounds, you can definitely overload yourself with these glute bridges. And my last reason is good for new beginners and advanced lifters. So if you're a very new beginner, you've never done deadlifts ever, you don't squat, let's just say it could be two things. You've never lifted at all and you're just beginning to lift. Or maybe you're one of those guys who lifts but you never did legs. Or you're just not, let's just say, like the mechanics of movement is just too complicated for you. You don't know foot length and levers and squat mechanics, and it's just all too complicated for you. A glute bridge is fairly simple to do. Again, you just lay on your back, scoot your feet to your butt, and then from there you just drive your feet in the ground and you extend your hips, squeeze your butt and your hamstrings. Again, there's a lot of million other cues I can give you, but to simplify it, that's basically what you're doing. But again, from there you can increasingly make it more difficult, add some weight, but that's not the only thing that you can do. Like for example, if you're an advanced lifter and you say, well, I've heard maybe some people say that like closed chain exercises aren't that good. I mean, for the most part, for being like athletic, for example. If you're a weightlifter, obviously you do a lot of closed chain exercises. I mean, like if you lift weights, you do, but for someone who wants to be more athletic, you can turn a regular bodyweight glute bridge into a single leg plyo glute bridge. So go from 2 legs to 1 leg, and instead of staying on the ground, explode up off the ground. That's going to make the movement extremely difficult. So you can make this a million ways more difficult. You can put bands between your knees. You could put bands against your hips. You can just make the weight really hard if you want. Like make the weight a high number if you want. So it just depends on what you want to do. But again, that's just an example. Is you can go from the very beginner. It's easier than a deadlift. It's easier than a squat. It's one of the easiest movements you're going to do. It's very safe on your core. There's no risk of falling if you're just doing body weight glute bridges. Even if you have a little dumbbell on your hips when you're doing this, there's no risk of injury. It's super easy. I mean, the only risk of injury that you could have is if you had a previous injury or you just have a bad back or something. But if you're a fairly healthy individual, I don't see how this one could go wrong. So again, these are 2 exercises that I feel like most people overlook them or they just don't really know about them at all. But I would really try to incorporate these into your movement. If you like videos like this, please like, share, and subscribe. Again, check out all my social media platforms. I'll put them down below. But until next time, I'll see you guys in a few days. Peace.